Good evening and welcome to this wonderful Wednesday evening edition of the On Air Advocate. We're at the On Air Advocate. We look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited that you're all joining us here this evening, or if you're catching on the replay. Now, if you feel that this broadcast could be beneficial for anybody, if you please could share some love and share this broadcast, that would be fabulous. Well, as most of you know, this week is our variety week at the On Air Advocate. So we have all different fabulous articles and tutorial videos, as well as interviewees on. And so thinking that we are going into a holiday week, kids being home for spring break, but as always at the On Air Advocate, we have a ton of caregivers there. I think that we really need to find a little zen. We need to find a little centering, balance between all of this. So I was extremely excited when I was introduced to this phenomenal woman. Her name is Robin Richards. She is an educator, a life coach, a blogger, and she is the founder of MamasMomentum, where they have vibrant living through energy transformation. And so tonight, she is going to help us find our zen and our balance in a harmonious way. We're going to get into using a chime and some fun things later. But first, I want to welcome you, Robin.
Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for having me on, and especially on a Wednesday night. What a great time to get right in the balance of the week, right?
Oh,
yes.
Get
a little bit of centering and balance. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, can you take us a little bit through the journey of how MamasMomentum came to be and what it's all about?
Well, this is part of the journey, so thank you for being part of it with me. But how it originated really is, it's part of my healing. I live with complex PTSD. I suffered a childhood trauma of the very violent loss of my mom. She was murdered in front of me when I was only a month into kindergarten. And that was in 1987. And in 2014, her murderer, my stepfather, was released from prison. And so that accompanied with just life, right? Because the reality is that you're not just given one obstacle, you are given, that's part of the journey. And so there have been things for me with my struggle with infertility, and then my daughter living with a genetic disorder herself, that has really just spurred me to take a big time out from my career, which was in education. And that's how I was invested in trying to heal myself and contribute to the world. And now I'm spreading MamasMomentum. So it's really how I'm transforming my own healing through really looking at my energy, looking and investigating different areas of wellness, spreading those to other people through retreats, through workshops, and through coaching. And most of all, it's just been an incredible journey of connecting and realizing that there is such a huge need for mamas, which I define as empaths and as caretakers, to get care themselves. Right. That ourselves, that is the most valuable investment that we can make, is in our own selves to help take care of others. And so it's a really big concept, and it's literally putting together an airplane in flight, but it is part of my just soul mission of transforming really trauma into triumph and spreading that hope and that joy and that light, even in the muck of it all. Because there's muck, like that's reality, to others, because it is all really worth it. And so I just am so honored to be with you and to be sharing this as it's continuing to grow.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Almost in tears. You are so phenomenal. Your positive energy and your power. And I know that we spoke, a few weeks back, about your journey, and it's just such an amazing one. And so I feel like you have so much to contribute. And I mean, when I went to your website and, looked through that, I mean, so much energy and positive energy put together for you to turn that tragedy into triumph. And so I am excited for you to share with our on-air audience, on-air advocate audience tonight.
I am too.
So
thank you.
I want you to tell us, show us how do we bring the Zen together? Are there things we do? I mean, because we don't just pick up a chime and start chiming, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I've never been myself to a meditation class.
Okay.
I've never even been to a yoga class.
All right.
So, and I haven't really done any kind of sitting and listening to quiet music much in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm here to learn. I'm here.
I love that. Well, what I love about the work that I'm bringing to people is for 13 years, I was in public education. And so I was a high school math teacher and then an instructional coach. And I do hold my educational specialist degree and master's with a principal license. So I know a lot about learning. And part of learning is that we all have different access points. And so what I'm really trying to do, because the truth is, Tammy, is there's a lot of misconceptions around some of the practices that you were just mentioning, that they're hippity-dippity and just like, what is the entry point? And if I have to go to a yoga studio, what does that actually mean? And is there chanting and what is that? And it's like witchcraft and everything else. So I really have a goal of merging the holistic with science. And so I want to speak to the fact that I'm all about energy transformation, because that's science. That's the law of energy conservation. It's neither created nor destroyed. But what I do know is that it can be transformed. And so as we're looking at these different practices, it's about finding ways to access stillness to then be able to transform the energy. So if I give you an example for myself, as an empath, as a caretaker, as a mama, right? Even before I had my own daughter, I was always trying to take care of other people. And so you have a million things going on. And even if you look at our world today with technology, we have all these million things going on at the surface, trying to anticipate the future to take care of everyone's needs. That's what anxiety is. Anxiety is the projections into the future. Depression is holding on to misery and sorrow about the past. And so those are the two different things. I'm not talking about, I've suffered my own struggles, right, with all of this. And I just want to make sure that with energy transformation, this isn't looking at the past. This isn't looking at where are you at right now? How can you be still to be able to transform anything that's not serving you in the direction you want to go into another direction? So there's different access points for that and different entries. And for me, to be most truthful, yoga was an extremely significant access point for me. I had an amazing stepmother as my caretaker. After I did lose my mom, she was my dad's girlfriend and then became my stepmother. She introduced me to yoga at a very young age. So it was an access point that I had. But as I continued to learn through being a teacher and having yoga being brought into St. Paul Public Schools as a form of helping students who are struggling with trauma and also who are struggling with learning how to manage their own world. So students with developmental delays and disabilities. And when we are doing high levels of integration within our classrooms, how are we making sure that everyone is able to be themselves and be still? So it's been this whole complex, there's nothing simple about me, right?
Right.
But I'm giving you this information because I want to always incorporate my story. That's part of what you're doing is you're giving us all access points to different stories and different pieces so that we can make our own sense and our own meaning of it. And I also want to honor that wherever you're at, wherever you're at, for those of you who are listening, that's exactly where you need to be. And that's just a wonderful point that you're listening and trying to learn and explore a new way to live a vibrant life and to transform energy. So as we're talking about different ways to experience stillness and centering, I'm going to go back again to merging the holistic with the science.
Okay.
So as I was practicing different things around yoga and meditation, and then I learned that, oh, wait a minute. So when I'm trying to teach students how to learn and they're in a social situation, they get all fired up in the hallway, and then even imagine, they have a cell phone in the hallway or whatever else, and they have social media going on. How do I now take them into a classroom? And mind you, Tammy, I was a high school math teacher, okay? Like, is there a more anxious place to be? Maybe an IEP meeting, right? Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
So I was dealing with people already having increased anxiety, and to think about, okay, how am I now going to help them learn? and learn a subject that they have beliefs and misconceptions about themselves that they're not even capable of learning. And so when I started being introduced as programs coming in on teaching strategies and how to center students and how to approach them into like accessing the learning in different ways and literally calming their body, I was like, oh, and there's research behind this that shows that now once your body is calm and your breath, you're centered on that, your mind, instead of doing this, like we were saying, that even we do as caretakers, it just settles for a moment. And then in that settle, instead of all of these things happening, I love that we're on video so you can see this.
See the fingers?
People just think I'm talking about. But and those of you that can hear it, just know my hands are fluttering like little mad butterflies. But imagine all those little butterflies finally taking that moment and that time to settle. And because of that practice, now you can select which butterfly you really want to help go and take flight, and then tend to the next one and the next one. So those butterflies, those thoughts are your energy. That's where you're wanting to focus it. And there's many different tools. Even just what you're doing right now, we're active listening to the story that I'm telling, the information, the fact that you're still enough to be able to just listen to your voice. You're focusing your senses, right? We have multiple senses on one thing. So I do have to share, I also, in addition to, so I full-time stay at home with my daughter. I'm building this amazing business and I lead Weight Watcher meetings. And so I really love food. Like I love food. And one strategy that you could do, so is there something you love, Tammy, to eat?
I love blueberries. Like I love blueberries. Like I can eat literally, and this is great. Like I can eat like 6 to 7 pounds a week, and I'm not joking.
I believe you.
And
I just my daughter, my 2.5-year-old, I could not, and we'd go only organic. You would eat me out of house and home. She already has. Well, I love that. So, and especially a blueberry is just such a vibrant fruit. Like if you think about it, it's color and its scent, those pieces. Well, if you enjoy a blueberry, the next time you have one, I want you to just take the blueberry, take just a moment to really look at it, look at its color, notice the little indentations in it, feel it in your hand, feel the pressure, feel exactly the pressure points where it's hitting your fingertips. Take a moment even to smell it, especially when it gets that real nice ripeness. And then as you put it in your mouth, noticing just all of the taste buds that start getting activated as you're moving it. Even you might notice that your saliva, that's where our digestion starts, right? That is where those glands are starting to activate just as you have that in. All of those things that I'm describing, that takes you maybe 20 seconds of your day. And it's already something, Tammy, that you enjoyed, that you love. And if you take those moments to do that, you're directing your senses. You are creating a mindful practice within just eating a blueberry that is helping to still those little butterflies so that you can center on. And even there, those are your 5 senses, right? We're talking about you're touching it, you're tasting it, you're smelling it, you're feeling it. And if you do this, the feel right next to your ear, you can hear a blueberry go squish and you can hear it as you're doing it. And so grounding yourself in those 5 senses, even just one of them is incredible. But look at that. We didn't know that we were going to be sharing that little strategy for you. And there's one that you and our listeners and viewers can take in any scenario. But especially as if you're feeling, and again, I want to stress, a mama is anybody who is taking care of another person and trying to evoke their emotions and make sure that you're projecting enough to be able to wrap around them. And if you're doing that, to take a moment before you eat a meal. Some people have a prayer before they say a meal. Some people are, wherever you're at, integrate just one more little practice of just noticing that first bite. And that can help ground you in a tool. And then getting back to how I've led Weight Watchers meetings, doing that tool, Tammy, has impacted the fact that I used to be an eater of my emotions, right? Because I want to eat. And for me, I joke with my friends and family, I would turn down dessert, but I could eat like 20 sandwiches and 18 pizzas and wings. And, that's my thing. And I could just eat that. And it would comfort me and it would do all of this. But really the first and the last bite have the same experience for you. And when you can focus on that one and ground yourself, then you're really realizing you're nourishing and you're experiencing all those pieces. You're doing more than just fueling your body with that food. You're also taking that moment to center yourself and fuel your soul. I mean, that's really what it is.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to try
Now
that.
you're gonna have to tell me.
I have 6 containers of blueberries in my fridge right now.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and I have 5 blackberries because those are kind of even better than the blueberries this week because, you know, our weather here in the Midwest hasn't really served us as well, seeing that it's supposed to snow on Saturday. That's a difference.
That's why even more so in the Midwest, we need these strategies to help remind us. Yes.
That positive energy. So now with that, this tool that you have used, and I know we kind of spoke beforehand because we were thinking about the chime or something that any caregiver, even if they only had so many moments that they could do that. Because, you know, sometimes caregivers don't get the opportunity to go do a class for a whole hour. And, you know, now you kind of give us an example of something simple with like food and those kind of moments. But, you know, for the chime and what you're going to teach us with that, what is kind of the minimum starting point? Or really, is there none? Could it be 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Oh, I would say the minimum starting point would be 30 seconds. I currently have a coaching client. Yeah, yeah. So this is the chime that we're talking about for those of you watching. And Tammy's going to put a link to it on Amazon. It's available for under $11, I believe.
I think it's $10.95 right now.
Yeah, which is a great deal. And so with this Woodstock chime, and it's Zenergy. How fun is that? Zenergy chime. With it, so I just want to do it. So part of how I work is that I really engage. I want to not just teach you, and teaching, I love teaching and I love learning, but I'm really about coaching, and coaching is about empowerment. And the first piece of that is that I want to always activate people in what we're doing. So describe the blueberry, but you weren't eating the blueberry, and our listeners and viewers, they're not able to do the blueberry. So that's why, well, maybe they are. And if you have a blueberry, please, they're just fantastic for you. But I have the chime here. And so I'm going to actually engage us in this. So this is how anybody could do this. And what I want to preface the story with is I was teaching, and at the time, how I would use this in a classroom. And so this is great, especially for those of us who have a house full of people that we need to train to just calm down for a minute. I used it as a signal to be able to calm down. In fact, it's sold as an effective way to start a class, meeting, a yoga practice, or even call people in for dinner. But what I would invite students to do is actually, after I had their attention, I was trying to ground them in the moment. And so I would ask them, and I'm doing this now with coaching clients, I want you to listen to the chime. And when you stop hearing it, to give me a thumbs up. Now you can imagine in a room full of people, whether I'm doing a retreat now or a workshop or when it was in a classroom, that helps me as the facilitator of the instruction or of whatever activity we're doing, be able to see where everyone's at and see them then raise their thumb. But for all of you listening, you feel free to give a thumbs up, because then you just know you're having a collective experience with everyone. So I want you to just listen and listen to the chime. And then when you stop hearing it, I want you to lift your thumb up. But before you do that, I do invite you to just take a deep breath, and you can either close your eyes or just stare at a point blankly. It's called a drishti, when you just look blankly at one point that's fixed within your gaze to calm the rest of the stuff that's going on around you. And so you're just going to listen to the chime and give a thumbs up when you stop hearing it. So with that, you just took your attention into a sound. You drew your awareness into that. You distracted yourself from other limits by either closing your eyes or by focusing on one point. And that, in those 10, 15 seconds, can be enough to help you reset and recharge, to center and make a more efficient use of the time that follows. So that's really what I want to stress here, is that you asked me, first of all, for how much time does it take? I really struggle with the fact that we have so many things on our list. And for me, that's where my anxiety, and with complex PTSD, that's always at a very heightened level of anxiety and fear and a bunch of things. But how do I create more time to do all of these things on my list? And we don't create more time. Time is just like energy. It's not created or nor destroyed, but we can make it more efficient. And so by taking that investment of those few moments of stillness, you are making the next chunk more effective. So you are able to better be present for whoever you are taking care of. And then I just really, really implore every single person that hears this message of you must take care of yourself in order to truly serve in the fullest capacity the way you can take care of other people. It is not, Tammy, we're talking about centering. There's a term in our society, and it's called being self-centered. And that term has so many negative connotations. And I understand why, because it has been really misserving quite a few people in the way they've been interpreting it. But I invite everyone to think of self-centeredness in a new way, as a new definition of literally when you can have yourself being centered, grounded, and balanced. When you are in that point, then you are able to better and more efficiently use your time to serve others, to serve yourself, whatever it is. So the first entry point is wherever it needs to be. We just had a quick 15 seconds of listening to the chime. Other ways that people can use this is to have like a mantra in your mind. So for me, it's been, I mean, there's different entry points. I've started with just, you are worthy, right? Like I am worthy of time. I am worthy of self-care. I am worthy of fill in the blank. So whatever mantra, a mantra is always just, it's a word for saying a short thing that you can repeat to yourself that helps. It's like your
positive affirmation.
Yeah, it's your positive affirmation. It's your power pose for your mind, right? Like you're just giving yourself that little extra boost. And so, for me, honestly, this chime practice is never more than a minute. For me, it is something, it's when I need that transition between activities so that I'm not still with the spinning, because my mind never stops. And so I'm just trying to chunk it so that I can move on to the next thing and really have that focused presence. And again, it's time efficiency that I'm maximizing with this.
I feel like I need one of those chimes in every one of my rooms.
You could do that. At one point, so we purchased them through the school. And then at one point, I think I had purchased like 5 or 6 more from Amazon. It's just like those IKEA whiteboards, if you've seen them. I don't know I own like 5. That's what happens. You can never take the teacher. You take the teacher out of the classroom, but you can't take the classroom out of the teacher. Having those things in spaces, make it accessible. I love that you said that though, Tammy, because when you are aware, and that's the other piece that I tell people is know thyself. If it seems crazy to you, who cares? Have that stress ball, have that spinner. I mean, don't do it because somebody else is doing it. Do it because it serves you and it makes sense to you for what you're trying to accomplish. So if you know that every time you enter, especially for you, Tammy, and for me, I have a workspace under construction, but I'm multi-purpose using rooms. And so when I'm transitioning from being a stay-at-home mom to now I'm doing my business, right? Like that's when I really need to get centered and have that focus of I am going from service of my child and my family to service of a different purpose. And I need to make sure that I'm there and I'm not doing the 100 million other things that are running in my head. And then, I do like to speak my truth because I'm courageous. Courage, the root of that word means leading from your heart. And so you understand what complex PTSD for me in ways that has manifested is, after my mother's murderer got out of jail, I found myself in a coffee shop and I couldn't even hear my friend talking to me. And I started realizing that I was shallow breathing. And all of a sudden I freaked out and I had to leave. And what I've been able to unpack, and it's not as simple as just one chime, right? It's been multiple entry points and it is a lot of work. And Tammy, it is worth it. It is 100% worth it. But what I realized what was happening was that that was my anxiety around fear that I was being threatened, that I was going to be attacked, that he was going to come after me, that I was not safe. Literally, that's our basic need, is safety and security.
Right.
And that has been taken out from under me. And so instead of letting the fear consume me, I've pushed into it and transformed it into excitement. And it's an excitement about activating people's fullest growth potential and learning more information to create understanding and create personal wellness that's individualized for people, that's individualized for me, and helps me live a vibrant life. So sometimes I get a little lost in it, right? Because I'm just so excited.
No, I mean, I don't know after even this conversation. I mean, just the moments, I will not look at any of my blueberries the same tomorrow.
Oh, that's
or
beautiful.
even tonight. And I'm not going to keep shoveling them in because, usually I do this.
Yeah.
When you're trying to eat 5 pounds, so one at a time.
And not M&Ms, that's mine is like the M&M pretzel combo. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, and just taking those moments. So with all of the things that you have to offer now, what, I know you have a blog that's on your website, as well.
Yeah, I keep building it.
Do you do retreats? Like, are those anywhere? I mean, do you do them in different states? Do you do them I know that we're not in the same state because you are in
Minnesota. Yes. Originally you're in my home, my original home of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But yeah, I live in Minnesota right now in the Twin Cities. Right now I am doing day-long vision board retreats. And so that's providing a nice little 7-hour get out of town, but really stay in town, right?
Mm-hmm.
For mamas, which again are empaths and caretakers. I've had women who don't have their own children come to the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a time to be able to get introduced to some of the strategies that I'm sharing today. But even beyond that, I really cater it to the needs and the access points of my participants.
Right.
You speak so much about caretakers, and, I know you have your Autism Awareness Month is coming up next week, and there's the whole concept of the individualized education plan.
Mm-hmm.
And, my root of education and my passion originated within public education. And I was the teacher who always was going to the alternative learning programs, like volunteering for it, right? And like wanting to teach the co-taught class and all those things, because there was just something about that. And I was always like, why do we have an individual education plan for special education students? Aren't we all special? Shouldn't we all have an individual plan? And so that's where I'm really like, each thing that's coming up, even each coaching client that I'm having, I have a structure, but I'm individualizing it. And so even within the retreats that come up, I send out an initial, survey to get an idea of where people are at within their own ideas
and
of
their
wellness
needs
and energy. Yeah. And so I cater it to that. My focus right now, I'm hoping for next year in the spring to do an overnight, like a 3-day retreat. I'm not sure where it's going to be. This has just been my mantra is contentment, right? My mantra is just like trying to focus on continuing to do this work, but really embracing all of the pieces of this vibrant life that I'm working so hard to have. Which, number one, as you know, Tammy, being a mama, oh my gosh, it is, you got to transform a lot of energy, to make sure that you're enjoying every moment.
Right.
So,
and you think of that energy, and then you think of, our listeners that are caregivers for their elderly loved ones, maybe one of their parents, both of their parents, maybe a relative, as well as those that are taking care of their children that have different disabilities and different abilities of different kinds. And you just think of how much energy on a daily basis is expended out, just taken out. And so, those little moments and those little things and those tools that you can learn, because if you don't have them in your toolbox, you can't use them, So, when people open their mind to integrating and listening to different people like yourself, and the different ideas that you have to kind of bring that all together, it gives you so many more ideas for things for self-help and self-care, which, like you said, is the most vital and most important.
Well, and I love that. And what you just said is exactly what I'm speaking about. Everyone creating is a personal wellness plan, a personal
Mm-hmm.
wellness plan where you, just because somebody's doing Atkins or whatever the thing is, right, if you want to get healthy and well and get your diet in check, like you figure out your tool for you and
Right.
personalize. That's your personalized plan. Create more tools in your toolbox around even mindfulness, because that's part of my work and what I'm looking right now to do. Because as you mentioned, the time piece, we just don't have it as caretakers. And so even for me trying to maximize my time, I've
Right.
been converting to things that I can deliver in more consumable chunks to people that they can integrate and access in their life on a daily basis. And so wellness workshops I've been doing as in-home gatherings. I did just do one in Milwaukee recently, and I'm hoping to come back. Maybe you'll host one, Tammy.
Oh,
But
yes.
it's bringing, just like women have gathered together for years with Mary Kay, Tupperware,
Mm-hmm.
wax, whatever it is. And now this is bringing it to our most precious resource, which is our self-care and personal development with the wellness workshops. But right now I'm exploring ways that I can do and host some things online to
Mm-hmm.
help even with group coaching around mindfulness and mindset strategies. Because really every single person's potential is limitless. We have infinite growth potential. It's the voices right in our head and like the
Right.
stories that we tell ourselves. So that's what coaching really is. It's not like, again, I talked about anxiety is the future. Well, coaching is looking at where you're at now and where you want to go and how to get there. And so I'm doing that with 7 areas of wellness that I've developed, which ironically aligns with geriatric care. And when I've looked at different, aging facilities and their areas of
Mm-hmm.
wellness, and truly, I think it speaks to my childhood trauma. I mean, I had every piece of my safety and security ripped away from me. And since then, there's many pieces to my journey, but I have always had the goal of aging gracefully and living well. And I knew that that was more than just one dimension. And
Right.
that's where where I have shifted is that instead of being reactive and having like a breakdown because
Mm-hmm.
something's just pushed me over the edge, like at that coffee shop, like I was talking about,
Right.
or when I was listening to a radio broadcast and almost had a blackout while I was driving because I was just in a panic attack. That doesn't happen for me anymore because instead of in a reactive state, I'm in a proactive state. So I'm keeping my personal wellness plan means, as like you do, Tammy, I get up early in the morning because that's the still time in the morning for me. I never was a morning person before. It took me a year of telling myself every day, I am worthy of being a morning person. I can be a morning person, right?
Right.
But it takes time. And man, there's just so many pieces of that I want to share. But I also just want to impart the truth of when we shift into being proactive instead of reactive. And so that even means when we're looking at things like our aging populations and Alzheimer's, like how can we start looking at the brain research that can be shown? There's cutting edge brain research right now that's showing that you can look in the brain because of the technology that's capable to be
Mm-hmm.
able to see 30 years before the onset. But right now we're only reacting once we see the symptoms emerge and there's
Right.
nothing that can really be done, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that with my own mental health. I'm trying to shift, but there's so many areas in our society and our world that if we shifted to being more proactive, we would see the benefits, but it would take time because it's not change that I'm talking about. I'm talking about evolution, which are small incremental changes. So if you want to do something like this, you just start by listening to somebody like me talk about it and you just entertain it. And you sure don't beat yourself up for not doing it. Because that's what
Right.
it breaks my heart. Like people are like, oh, I should get up at 4 a.m. No, like should get that word out of your vocabulary. Do you want to? Does it serve you? Will it
Mm-hmm.
serve you in the future? If it will,
Right.
then just open up that door and see what happens. But there's just so many pieces to that. And it's all connected. And that's why, Tammy, what you're doing here, it is so important. And to be giving these connections and these multiple voices that aren't always necessarily the ones being heard about advocacy and
Mm-hmm.
care for so
Right.
many. If we are doing what is serving our sick or our disabled, if we are doing the things to serve those, it serves everybody else. And so it's just really been an honor to be able to be part of this with you.
Oh my gosh. And you have so many nuggets, like golden nuggets to share. And so, as we talked about before, I look forward to having you on again where we can explore some other avenues, different tips and strategies for our caregivers to use. Tonight it was the chime and kind of the introduction, but looking forward to those to continue. I absolutely, Robin, think you are amazing. Your journey you're on is
Feeling
fabulous one, and I love it. And it is going to benefit so many. I mean, it has already benefited so many, and it's going to benefit so many more, because you are so right with all this, in tragedy into triumph. And your story is one, like I told you, you had me in tears the first time we were talking. And so I think that you are just a phenomenal woman, and that I can't wait to have one of these classes. So I gotta figure out where to do that. I might have to do it in my closet here, because I don't get to leave much with my son. Everybody can come over in my closet and we can have a party.
That's what differentiation is, Tammy, is we're going to make it work. So we're going to figure it out, and that's what planting the seeds are, because this work is just too good to not spread, especially to the people who are doing such incredible things like you. You are just the embodiment of a mama, an empathic maker. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, all the links are going to be listed right above this live, so they'll be out there. Also, the chime is on. I think it's on sale right now, like we talked about, for under $11, so you can get your chime. Let me just look really, really quick to see if anybody had any quick questions here. We might just have the thumbs up. Let me look here. Oh, there's other people that do yoga. I guess the one who
Namaste, my friends. Namaste.
Wonderful. So we have lots of comments about thumbs up and meditation and all of that. So I thank you guys tonight for taking out the time to listen to the On-Air Advocate. You can find out all about Mama's Momentum and Robin. We're going to have all of her links there. I would like tonight, I'm going to give the other links. So if you want to find us on YouTube or the podcast for this, or any of our social media, other applications, you can go to onairadvocate.com. That's onairadvocate.com, and they are all right there. So Robin, I'm hoping that you can take us out tonight on a chime.
Oh, that sounds beautiful, Tammy. So everyone, on this beautiful Wednesday, the center of our week, here you go to center and balance you in this beautiful evening.
God bless everybody. Bye-bye. Thumbs up.